Hey, if you're a coach or an online course creator and you're struggling to figure out how much to invest in your paid ads, or even if you should invest in paid ads at all, well, you're not alone. And on this video, I'm going to give you the answer. All right, let's just kind of cut to the chase here. I have worked with a ton of coaches, consultants, course creators. I have looked inside of all kinds of different ad accounts for some of the biggest names out there. Everybody you would know immediately to just the smallest of accounts. And I can tell you that 93%, and I've calculated this, 93% of coaches and course creators lose money on their ads. And so I'm not saying that to discourage you. The reason that they tend to lose money is they don't have a great strategy going in. They just kind of hope for the best. They don't really plan it out. So on this video, I want to break down how to really budget for Facebook ads or YouTube ads. If you're going to do YouTube, that's perfectly fine. Although YouTube's a little bit different beast than Facebook, and trying to compare the two is just not a good way to go. But I want to break that down of how to budget specifically for Facebook without overspending. All right, so let's just go ahead and kind of dive right into that. Like I said, I've looked at a lot of accounts, and I've been brought in to see what's going wrong. Like they weren't necessarily hiring me to run the ads for them. They just wanted me to tell whatever their agency was doing, help them fix it. And so sometimes they call me the fixer. I don't really like that. Not exactly sure what that means. It doesn't sound good, though. But they brought me in to kind of fix things, and that's what I do. I take a look at it, and then I offer suggestions on how to fix them. And most of the time, most people think that there's this magic setup, magic targeting, magic button, magic setup, and they're not. Everybody sets everything up pretty much the same, more or less. Okay, now there's variances and there's philosophies, and it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm always right and they're always wrong. Sometimes, maybe. Sometimes I'm right and sometimes I'm wrong. If you ever run into an ads person who doesn't talk about the ads that they have that have flopped, I'd run. It's easy to tell about the wins. Everybody wants to talk about the wins. I do too. But the real character and integrity of an agency or somebody you're going to enlist to help you run ads is talking to them about what ads they've had that flopped and how did they handle that? What did they do? And I'm happy to tell you about mine. So the good news is, at least for me, I can't speak for everybody else, is that I've been doing it so long that I'm on the plus side of the 80-20 rule. So most of the time they work, right? I usually just don't run ads for somebody unless I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to make them work. So they almost always work now, but nevertheless, there are times when they don't. All right, so let's talk about some common misconceptions and mistakes. So as I mentioned before, what a lot of people do is they boost a post to see what happens. That's where they start with the ads, and that's okay. It's just that if you don't have intent by your ads and you don't have a plan behind them, that's hard to make that work because you don't know how to measure it. And boosting posts really doesn't give you an opportunity to measure it other than did people engage, whatever that means, right? Did you get some likes or comments or share, whatever it is? So boosting really isn't a good plan unless that's what your goal is, right? You're just trying to get some engagement on your page or your profile or whatever. Or two, if it's okay as long as you can get in front of the right people. So now when you boost a post, you don't get all the targeting options that you get when you input it manually into the ads manager. It doesn't matter if it's Instagram or not. If you boost it, it just doesn't work the same way. So that's kind of the bad thing about that. The other misconception or mistake that happens a lot, and I don't think people say this out loud, but when they come to me, they indicate this where they think ads are going to save them. So they've maxed out organically, they've marketed, they've had some consistency for a while. Great, but it stopped, and they think, oh, I got to do something, and they think, oh, ads. That's hard. Okay, ads often, not always, but they often take time and money, and you have to be willing to invest in that. And so I'm a big advocate, and I mention this on all the time, is that of running an ad every single day of the year for at least $5 a day. Have an ad running to your lead magnet, to your group, to something, so that you're getting data all the time because you're going to pick up on things. You're going to start to see things like, oh, hey, that works. That headline works. My audience really likes that. I didn't think they'd like that. That's what's going to happen. It's really cool. So ads aren't going to save you, but make sure you're running ads every day. And I really just believe in that. So the other thing is you have to evaluate where you are when it comes to figuring out how much you're going to spend. Now, a lot of times people don't have a set aside budget for their ads just yet. They might have an idea in their head of how much they can spend, and that's fine. But think about when you have revenue coming in, setting aside a portion of that revenue to go back out just for ads. So you could do 10%, 20%, whatever the number is. And in the beginning, you might, let's just say you brought in $10,000 and you're doing 10% of that back towards ads. Well, that's $1,000. $1,000 may not be enough. Okay, it might be. It just depends on what you're trying to do and what you're marketing. But you want to have that, just like you set aside money for taxes, you better be setting aside money for taxes. Seriously, no. I am dead serious about that. Please read Profit First, Michael Michalowicz. It made such a huge game changer when I read it years ago in my business. I cannot tell you. I do it just slightly modified than he does it because I have a separate marketing budget. But for everything else, I pretty much stick to what he says. And anyway, it'll really, really help you. All right. So the other thing is you want to define what the direct result is that you want to be from the ad. Are you trying to get people to opt in to your webinar? Right? Are you trying to get people to opt into your challenge? Are you trying to sell your course? Are you trying to do your low ticket offer? What is it that you're trying to do? Okay, define that before you ever start ads. And so when you get started, I want you to break down on paper, if you write it down or you want to put a spreadsheet of what your expectations are, okay? And meaning if you spend $5 a day, let's just say that's what you do, what's your expectation of how many people are going to opt in or buy at $5 a day? See, this is where people get caught up. Because they're only spending $5 a day and their expectation level is they're going to get all these people. And that's probably not going to happen that way. Dollar leads just really aren't a thing, you can get them in some niches, but I'm talking about quality leads, okay? So that's not likely to happen. But depending on your niche, you could get, $1.50 leads, $2 leads, something like that. So, okay, if I'm spending $5 a day, I might get, 2-3 leads a day. All right, fine. Or if you're in a niche like a business coaching or something like that, well, I might get 1 lead every 4 or 5 days because those are going to be $20 or $25, right? So it depends on what it is. So you have to set your expectation and have the mindset of, okay, I'm willing to spend 2 to 3 times the cost of whatever it is I'm selling on ads to test that out, to figure out what's going to work. And so if you have like a $500 course, well, you probably want to be able to spend at least $1,000 to $1,500 to figure out what's going to work because you're going to find out what's working and what's not working. All the data is good data. And if you hire an agency, if you hire us, you hire somebody else, whatever, that's fine. We're going to have to do the same thing, okay, especially if you haven't sold it before. And just to be frank with you, we normally won't work with people who haven't sold their package or their offer before, just because the best thing to do there is to sell it organically a few times and get some data there and then worry about kind of slowly implement ads. But a lot of times people do the reverse. So they start going with ads, and that's just not a good place to start. So, but be willing to spend 2 to 3 times. Well, what if you have a high ticket coaching package? What if your coaching package is $5,000, right? Do you spend $10,000 in ads? Well, possibly, yes. Now, I will tell you this. If you have a $5,000 coaching package and you're trying ads for the first time, be prepared to spend at least $2,000 to $3,000 to get one client, okay? That's where you need to be. Now, you may have to spend a little bit more than that in the beginning because you're trying to figure out what's going to convert in the ads. So it's not just the ads. People, most of the time when something doesn't work, they blame the ad. And sometimes it is the ad. A lot of times it's the ad. But sometimes it's not the ad. Sometimes it's the webinar stinks, right? Or the challenge just wasn't as compelling as you thought it was, or it was very generic. I just had that. I get it. You think your messaging's on point because your audience is telling you that, but it's very, not very tangible result that they're getting. So it's hard for them to conceptualize what that actually means, right? They're going to feel better. Well, what does that mean? Feel better. Okay. They're going to heal. What does heal mean? Okay. Now, if you're doing autoimmune issues, well, you can tell them what healing means. But if you're just talking about healing emotionally, well, what does that really mean for them? What does that look like in their life? So a lot of times that happens, and people don't understand why they're having a tough time getting people to opt in and buy. So I'm saying all this just so you'll kind of dial back your expectations a little bit of what ads can do for you. Ads are great, and once they start working, there's no better way to get some consistency in your business. Forget all this junk out there that people scale to $1 billion and blah, 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 blah. Forget all that. Who cares about scaling when you can't be consistent month after month and get 10 clients a month, right? I mean, scaling to $1 bajillion doesn't matter. You're not there yet. And by the way, most of that stuff does not work, or at least not in the way they portray it. That's just a little pet peeve of mine there. So let me just kind of close with this, is that part of this is about learning how to get the data and interpret it, right? So you're trying to get stuff in from ads, and you're trying to figure out how to make that work and what to change. And I'm going to do a video on how to test stuff, because most people test wrong, and I'm not trying to be overly critical. It's just the way that they're testing usually isn't super effective. Now, and by the way, it's much harder to test on a very low budget than it is on a higher budget. It just is, because you don't get the data fast enough, and people get impatient. I get impatient, right? Because you're going several days at such a low budget, you just feel like nothing's happening, and nothing is happening, right? So I would rather you spend a lot more money in a week than to drag it out over a lower budget over a month, so you can just get the data quicker. Remember that all the strategies out there, a lot of them work actually, but there's no silver bullet. Meaning, it doesn't matter what the strategy is. It doesn't matter all the testimonials of what somebody tells you. That doesn't mean you're going to take it and put it into your business and it's immediately going to work. And the person that's telling you the strategy should tell you that, right? I mean, that's why they're not out there saying, hey, this works for 98% of the people, because they can't say that. And we all know it's not true. So it doesn't mean it won't work for you. It just means you have to be committed. Don't change. The grass is not greener. It's just not. Follow the method. One size just doesn't fit all. And the other thing is that I just want to say, please start sooner rather than later. Yes, I get you may not be ready. You may not even have an offer ready. But if you have a Facebook group, I just did a video, and you can take a look at it. I'll link to it here, about growing your group, from 100 people or 1,000 people this month at using a $5 a day ad. Okay, I just did a video on that, and you can do that. I mean, if you can't spend $5 a day, then you don't need to be running ads anyway. So think about it from that standpoint. All right, if you're struggling with something like, hey, I'm trying to build a compelling lead magnet. Like, I want to run ads, but I need a compelling lead magnet or something. I have something really cool that I just came up with. It's called Lead Magnet Mastery. It's a free download. Just check it in the description. I'd love to hear your successes on that. You can just opt right into it, and I'll send it right over. Lead Magnet Mastery. All right, I will catch you guys on the next video.